So it's a Pisces full moon. Very mutable energy is arriving with this Pisces full moon. 4 of the 7 traditional planets in mutable signs, including Mars in Gemini, Venus in Virgo, and then the 2 luminaries there, all at a time when Mercury's stationing retrograde. This full moon in Pisces is one of transition, change, a sense of maybe dislodgement as the shifting sands of this year feel even more out of control. So hang on there. I'm going to break it down in this video and talk about what we might want to expect or look out for. So welcome to the channel. S.J. Anderson here to do kind of a classic breakdown of this full moon in Pisces. It's the beautiful thing here, just when you strip the chart away and you get it down to its fundamental components, which to me are these 7 classic planets or 7 traditional planets. You know, the reason why they're so special is because these planets rule signs, and even many contemporary astrologers will have only traditional rulers in their practice, or they'll use co-rulers. These 7 rule signs, and they have all the way to the beginning of the tradition. We've assigned these bodies as responsible for signs of the zodiac. The fundamental building blocks, the fundamental pieces of our astrology include these 7 planets. They're visible, unlike the others. And there's something special and important, 7 days, still embedded in the reality as we talk about it. And so I just wanted to strip down here and check out this chart from the model, from the perspective of the 7 traditional. Here we go. You can see here right out of the gate, 17 degrees, 41 degree minutes of Pisces. There it is. There's that beautiful full moon in its moment of fullness right here, right about noon in Central Europe where I am. So right away, the most important feature, I think, of this moon is that you get a square to Mars. Still, remember that last new moon in Virgo had an exact partile square to Mars. Well, now we continue this mutable activation of the late summer 2022 with a syzygy that again is squaring Mars, a little bit of a wider orb here. It just is what it is. What does that mean? Well, what is the Mars and Gemini story? What has it been for you? Pulling from my own Twitter, the stuff that I have been tweeting about related to Mars and Gemini includes the Russian gas being cut off from Europe. That happened right as Mars entered its shadow, its retrograde shadow. So I'm watching that story. You've got the burning of utility bills in Naples, Italy. That video came out a few days ago. You had this image of Biden that happened right as Mars got it closer to entering its shadow, which is the speech. The red is Mars, that martial speech component of reality. And so we've seen a few manifestations since Mars has been in Gemini that are pretty literal. Burning a bill. The Mercury is the information and the money in the bill. Mars is the burning, is the fire. Gas and the flow of gas is certainly an air sign, is Gemini. Mars, you burn gas, right, for heat. And that's being cut off. That's a martial action to say no and to break off an agreement. And so a lot of Mars and Gemini has come to the fore since that last new moon in Virgo. Well, it's a continuation of it. And so those are the stories that I'm watching in terms of news stories around what may be unfolding in the mundane world. In the personal world, you might think about your own life. Where are you experiencing passion, action, movement, maybe acrimony or division around ideas or thoughts? Are there debates that are happening in your life? I know I've had a few kind of conversations about ideas with folks that were very martial and very Gemini, and it's okay. You know, I've been encouraging this transit as one where we get to joust and jostle with language and practice those skills. You can see it here built right into this full moon, to this syzygy, is that Mars and Gemini still squaring. Now, the other thing to note, remember Pisces, what are the major rulers in astrology? Domicile ruler, that's Jupiter, okay, in Aries, again, a martial energy. And then where is Mars? In Gemini. The second ruler is the exaltation ruler, which is Venus, rules Pisces by exaltation. You can see Venus there in Virgo, also ruled by Mercury, just like Mars. And so, and then the triplicity ruler, if you're doing night or day triplicity, the ruler of Pisces is going to be Venus or Mars. And so all roads lead back to this Mercury-Venus exchange or exchange of signs. Not quite a mutual reception because there is no reception, but definitely an exchange of signs. And then of course Saturn hanging out in Aquarius. And so that's the major other idea of this full moon moment, is that we're frankly dealing with a Mercury stationing retrograde as part of the major flow of rulership here. What is Mercury is itself a mutable energy, and retrograde station is a moment of pause, stop, delay, and blockage. So it's a major feature of this moment of a Mercury retrograde. I think we might feel it even stronger than we normally do, the retrograde station, because it's happening during a full moon, and Mercury is a final dispositor of the rulers of the full moon. You can see that just clearly through the flow of dispositor ship in this chart. And so what is Mercury? Well, it's paperwork, it's information. I very much would encourage you to be backing up the data and reconfiguring data, protecting data during this whole period, particularly with the trine. You've got a trine that never perfected between Mercury and Mars, but that's supportive. Still, it didn't perfect. It's supportive to help you and help me and help all of us land this plane before Mercury stations retrograde with reconfigurations of data, information, all kinds of web development, anything you're doing with your online data, offline data, get that locked in here. This is 10 September, Saturday at noon. I'm recording this on Tuesday, September 6th. That's 4 days. I'm going to try to get this out in a few hours. The next rest of this week, highly encouraging to back up that data to prepare for the Mercury retrograde, because there could be a climax here, a mutable syzygy full moon climax squaring Mars. And the one final component, and by the way, I think this supports all the protests I'm seeing in the world in the news. It's a Saturn-Mars trine with Mercury. It's this beautiful air trine that's going to be a major story astrologically this fall, because once Mercury stations direct in late September, early October, and starts moving forward again, we get this lovely stellium here, and I can just show you something like by October 10th, you'll see we'll have or October 15th, we'll have this 3-planet stellium that will be making an air trine by sign, and then by degree too, as some of these planets perfect their trines to Mars and Saturn. And so what is air trine? What can an air trine be? Well, agreements. It is protests because Mars is there. It's governments because Saturn is in Aquarius. It is the beauty of groups coming together, Venus and Libra. And so it's an opportunity for people to unite around ideas and have the support of these malefic planets to move into reality in ways that can bring more peace and justice. I mean, that's what Libra can be. That Libra stellium, I think, is very much suggestive of uniting with others, speaking a truth, and uniting in a fellowship and a brotherhood and sisterhood and personhood of humanity as we brace for these changes. And to just come back to the syzygy chart, the full moon chart, that's another major theme here, is that this is all mutable energy with that mutable Mars. And a Mercury retrograde, which also implies delays. We're not going to be finished with this process. The Mercury retrograde until October, the Mars and Gemini story until next March, the Saturn and Aquarius story until next March. And reality is there's a lot of uncertainty out there, isn't it? And I want to encourage you that you can acknowledge, hey, there's a lot of uncertainty going into the fall, economic uncertainty, other uncertainty in your life, whatever it is you're struggling with. It's built into the symbols of this moment, of this full moon. And in particular, the one other piece I wanted to share about, Venus and Virgo. This can be kind of an energy of being hard on the self, putting too much pressure on the self, being a little bit too meticulous with the expectations around who we are, the idea that we have to be feeling good, the idea that life should be a pleasurable dance. And I'm all for the theories of reality as joy, and I think we should have joyful attitudes at times. It's just that this energy with Venus and Virgo, there might be risks here that within this dynamic period of change and unknown, that we're a little too harsh on ourselves. And I want to encourage you to take the edge off and have patience with yourself. And that's why we use astrology. We can see, well, okay, yeah, this is Mars squaring the moon in this syzygy. Okay, that is a harsh energy. Let me have a little bit of patience with myself. Let me let this clear and get into Libra season, where you have a beautiful Libra stellium. There's good astrology coming. There's good things coming our way. And if you're experiencing this as a little bit too harsh, just realize Venus and Mercury are going to meet later in September. They will conjoin in Virgo, and then Venus will come into Libra late September, and this will all be completed. Let me get those maps up exactly. There's this meeting of Venus and Mercury in late September there. They meet right as Mercury is stationing direct. Venus gets to join with Mercury, finish that period in Virgo, and then get shot into Libra, where Venus now comes home. under the beams of the sun, not visible, but still powerful in its own sign. And then we have Mercury stationing direct, and then this is that stellium that we're looking forward to. You see in this chart, there is not as much mutable activation. Of course, only Mars is mutable now. And so there's a lot less change here coming in about a month, a lot less sense of the unknown or of having to be too much for too many people. I think we're going to get to settle in here to this fall period once that Libra ingress happens. So hang on for that and try not to be too down on yourself or too hard on yourself. Sometimes a Mercury retrograde, if blocks emerge, if something steps in your way, things go differently than you had thought they would go. It's okay. Give yourself a break is my big message here. If you can, relax and give yourself a break and enjoy these waves. It's like surfing, a Pisces full moon. We're surfing on the massive seas of life as reality will unfold. And so have a great Pisces full moon, and I'll talk to you really, really soon.